Hi everyone and welcome back. Thank you so much for coming over today and checking out this video that I am creating regarding the new moon that we will be having in Cancer, as well as the solar eclipse we will be having as well. I will link a timetable below this video so you can see what time it happens for you. It's going to be a different time of day for everybody depending on the time zone, so that will be linked below. But yes, we are having a solar eclipse, and of course solar eclipses only happen during new moons, so it is not, unusual to have a new moon at the same time as a solar eclipse, but this new moon in Cancer is particularly important in our year's moon cycle. In 2020's moon cycles, the new moon in Cancer is one of the most hyperactive and activating angles and energies for the other transits that we're having. So I've talked a lot about other transits that we're having this year. As most of you now know, we're having Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto transiting through Capricorn, finishing up in Capricorn, and they are all retrograde right now. And we've talked so much on this channel about the implications of that meaning of what those planets doing what they're doing means. I'll link videos below about each of those topics if you're new and you haven't seen anything about it yet. But in astrology, we have what is called the opposition angle. This is a 180-degree angle, and what the new moon in Cancer does, also precipitating Cancer season, it is a beginning for many different things, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, to really, move into Cancer and activate this Capricorn stellium. Now, Mercury has moved in already, but as we know, it has gone retrograde, probably right as you're seeing this video. June 18th is the day that Mercury goes retrograde in Cancer, so it will retrograde back, and then it will go direct and catch back up and activate all of these Cancer points, specifically in the latter part of Cancer, which will really truly set off the energy of the Capricorn energy as it is in late degrees. So, new moon in Cancer. Well, let's talk a little bit about what new moons mean. If you've read my ebook, Moon Symbols, I've talked about the moon phases and the moons through the signs. I'll link that below as well. A new moon is a potent time of rejuvenation and reawakening every month that we all go through. Humanity's circadian rhythms are very connected to the cycles of the moon. So whenever the moon is new, this is a time where we have cell turnover. This is a time where we can heal more potently, where we can reactivate our bodies, where we can have more energy. Okay? A new moon is always an awakening, reactivating, rejuvenating, and recharging energy, okay? It is new life energy. And what that means in the context of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto retrograde conjunction in Capricorn is that this new moon will rejuvenate, reactivate, and reawaken the themes and aspects in correlation to most of our status quos right now, like personally and individually, the things that we've been working on for a long time. Capricorn, the energy of Capricorn in the 10th house is about long-running structures. What we're building up to, it is the energy of Saturn. So the new moon is going to give a new type of Saturnian energy into all of our lives. So it's going to make us want more routine. It's going to make us want to feel more inspired by our journeys and by the things we've been working on for a long time. It's really going to make us want to get our homes in order, as the energy of Cancer and Capricorn, this axis in astrology, this deals with the home, and it deals with the structure of your home, and Cancer being the emotional home, and then Capricorn being more so the physical home, but they can both kind of interlap within those concepts. The new moon in Cancer will give us a new burst of energy about our sense of home and our emotional sense of home. It, for some of us, has meant a move. I'm personally moving as well right now, and that's why I've been so busy. That's why I've not been able to be on as much, and I was going to take this week off, but I knew that with this new moon in Cancer, I just had to sit down and film a video, because this is one of the most important transits of the entire year, so I didn't want to miss it. So that is why I am here right now. But many of us are moving, many of us are having a new sense of home or preparing a new home, or many of us are having some kind of shift within our current home, really understanding the context of our current home. And it's not really been easy for everyone. So with these things in mind, understanding that also the opposition angle that I'm speaking about, understanding that it is one of the most activating, most charging, most it's not always difficult. It can be just illuminating. You know, an opposition can really show you something. It puts something right in front of your face. It really is clear and direct most of the time, energetically. But it can also be directly difficult, and it can really show a lot of obstacles as well. So with that in mind, and understanding the malefic bent that I feel that the Capricorn triple retrograde conjunction has inspired, I think that we have a lot of healing to do, and I will be preparing a video about July as a month too after this for next week. And this video is not about July, but this time really prepares us to work with July, and July is one of the most potent healing times that I have felt oncoming in a long time. And it's not going to be healing for everybody. It's going to be a very challenging time for some people, and it's really going to create about a year cycle for a lot of people too, of, you know, just a constant slow burn of healing. All right. And I'll talk more about that in next week's July video. But this new moon in Cancer is what brings that to life. This new moon in Cancer that we're having on June 21st, or June 20 to June 21st, depending on your time zone. This is what starts a healing process for so many people. It is also what starts a process of challenges for a lot of people too, in a process or a journey of like obstacles. And if you feel that coming on, like you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so many challenges in my life. I feel like there's no respite. There's no, break from these constant obstacles. July will really show you how to work with that in a more constructive way. Have faith in that, as this is also a time of faith being rebuilt and reorganized and reconstrued. So there are quite a few things that I want to talk about and summarize up in this video. There's so many like kind of puzzle pieces coming together for me. I just want to say that I've been getting downloads every single day about sort of like symbols and ideas and structures. This always happens to me this time of the year because it is the full moon in Sagittarius waning and heading toward the new moon in Cancer. It's a very psychic time for me, and more so a philosophical time for me, actually. And it kind of merges together because new moon in Cancer is super psychic, full moon in Sagittarius is super philosophical, so it's like the psychic and the philosophical meet, and that's a wonderful, wonderful place, for me at least, to get new ideas and new inspiration. So I want to talk to you about some of these symbols that I've received, and let's see if they don't correlate to some of your experiences. So the first thing that I've been getting so clearly is I see this like exhale, or I feel this, exhale, this. And then within that exhale, there's just this pause. There's a pause within the exhale, and there's no inspiration. There's no breathe back in. It's like a sleep apnea, or refusing to then breathe back in. And as things kind of start to fade out, and as things start to go away, and there's just this exhale, all of a sudden there's this like breath back to life. There's this gasp, there's this inhalation, there's this, like very dramatic, very theatrical, very cinematic type of things as we fade out with this full moon in Sagittarius cycle, which could not really cling on to much other than the nodes. We talked about that. I'll link that video below, last week's video or the week before. As that waned, and as all of those old dreams or all of those old ideas or old philosophies exited out, we like kind of exhaled them collectively, and this new moon comes in, and this solar eclipse with this new moon, and all of a sudden there's just the dramatic inspiration, or the dramatic breathe back in. And what does this mean? So that's the symbol that I've gotten. Here's my interpretation of that. There's a lot of us who have exhaled a lot of our values, or have exhaled a lot of our true journeys, or have exhaled a lot of our like reasoning behind certain decisions that we've made. And I feel that it's caused a lot of us to get just on like weird paths, or in like dead-end jobs or dead-end cycles. And we've kind of exhaled it out, and it just kind of starts to fade away. And what this new moon eclipse time, and basically this time of like June 18th till about June 25th, will be for a lot of people is a sudden realization. And when I say sudden realization, I mean like you imagine that you've like exhaled and you kind of actually start to die a bit, and then you don't die, you inhale and you are alive again. And in that moment, due to the process your body was in and reversing it, there's a huge shift in momentum and a huge shift in karmic ideation as well. So it's a bit dramatic, I know, but it's one of the only ways that I can explain the drama of this transit. It is a kind of dramatic transit. And there are some other possible interpretations of this download that I'm getting. On one of those things being like shocking things happening to people. You might be shocked by the behavior of people around you leading up to this, especially coming off of the full moon in Sagittarius back 2 weeks ago. So, early and mid June, all of that time between then and then this new moon, June 21st. You might have been very shocked by the people around you. I've seen very unexpected things. I think egos have been out of control for a number of people. I've seen people, like basically people's, like you think that you know people at a time like this, but you don't really. And you think that, and that was really more about the full moon in Sagittarius that we had and that nodal connection. That's a super, super important video to watch, which I will definitely have linked below for you guys, because it's so contextual to what this transit now means. That blazed a path of egocentricity, I'll call it, for so many people that it was just shocking. And this new moon in Cancer comes in, and it's kind of like, it's a very nurturing energy. It's a very kind, loving, recharging, and dignified energy, actually, because the moon is ruled by Cancer. So this is one of the moon's favorite places to be. It likes full moon in Cancer more than it likes new moon in Cancer. It prefers that cycle a little bit more, but this is one of the moon's favorite, positions, is new moon in Cancer. So our sensibilities can be very shocked as we more so shift into the ideas of new moon in Cancer being much more appropriate, whatever that means to you. That's philosophical. And here, again, and so this, I'll point it out, that's the perfect example. We have different philosophical meanings coming from this nodal shift and the full moon in Sag, of what some people might consider appropriate means, what some people might consider this or that means, And new moon in Cancer kind of wants everybody to be on the same page. It wants a certain, agreement made. The Capricorn and Cancer axis is all about agreements and contracts and establishment and things like that. So we do have, with this energy for certain, a new type of agreement for some people, a new contract, a new philosophy on life for some people definitely coming in with this. And it's kind of maybe shocking for other people to see, definitely a time where you can see that one person who was so stable in your life, or that one person who was so, quote unquote, responsible or well-meaning or well-to-do, completely go off the deep end and do something very shocking. Okay. Likewise, the other way around, that person who has the reputation for being, the shock factor, or for being, a very exhilarating person, or somebody who always does the unexpected, can now become very seemingly boring, or very mundane, or very homely as well. So we do have personality shifts certainly happening right now, and I think everybody forging anew within their own personality, and forging through seeing aspects of themselves that they know are no longer in alignment, and efforts that are no longer in alignment. We do have the forging of new personalities, and we have the forging of new new ideas of selfhood too, because Cancer, the archetype of Cancer, the sign of Cancer, is about the self. This is the sign of the self. Before any other sign is the sign of the self, it is Cancer, the fourth house. We are dealing with ultimate selfhood. We are dealing with the rejuvenation, new moon energy of ultimate selfhood. What we're also dealing with is in retrograde opposition, very power-oriented, control-oriented, and transformation-oriented planets retrograding in opposition to these ideas of selfhood. So for everybody, there's some amount of transformation of selfhood. There's some amount of new dependence or new dependability or independence relating to how we navigate ourselves. And these are new things. These are not, we might have been building it for a while or trying to build it, but I think that there's a little bit of a surprise for everybody with this energy. And it might even be predictable in some ways, but I think that there's going to be a variation to what we consider, to what we considered for ourselves. Okay. So what we've considered for ourselves, our considerations, our customs, our long-running aspects. Personally, I'm talking individually here. These things are very much up for reestablishment or recommitment. You know, if you can imagine, the lease is up, essentially. Am I going to renew the lease, or am I going to move, if you're like me? That is happening at every level. I think I see that at a personal level. I see that in physical levels. I see that with business. I see that with so much. It's like a time like you don't have to keep going, but you can if you want. There's options for a lot of people with this when it comes to how they're setting their day, how they're creating abundance in their lives, how they're identifying at a personality level. Okay, how are you coming off to people? Are you that stable figure? Are you that exhilarating figure? Are you, because people can really want to typecast people right now too. This is another thing of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn retrograde conjunction, is the typecasting of certain status as well. So this is very clear, and you might have a weird time with that. Okay, try to not worry too much about it. But we are definitely dealing with how we identify our status, how that is for our interior space versus the public space. All of that is very keyed in to this transit and trying to really heal. Taking it back to the personal level again, though, I want to talk a little bit about death and loss, okay? I've been seeing this for a lot of people. I've had a lot of people come to me saying, oh my gosh, I've had the most difficult breakup. Oh my gosh, all these people around me have been dying. I've been to so many funerals. It's tough. It's tough. Most of us now know somebody, even if it's not that disease, it is, it's something else, or we've experienced loss in some way, or maybe it's a job, maybe it's a past place of living, maybe it's a certain relationship. And that is very different than what it will have been before. And this is interesting because all the Capricorn energy is about maintenance. It's about sustaining. It's about keeping things the same. It's about knowing and predicting and not being surprised and not having unexpected things happen. Yet 2020 has been a year of the unexpected, as it is a rat year, which is a very unexpected new kind of energy. So that's been essentially the conflict of all of this time, is the, the strong established norms versus the unexpected bent of change that we inevitably must face too. So it results in loss for a lot of people. It results in learning through loss, because loss is a very powerful teacher in this world. So if you've dealt with loss, or if you've dealt with death even, or anything like that, let yourself experience that during this time, because this is a wonderful time for coping, okay? And it's not, when I say wonderful, wonderful may not be the right word, because it's not an easy time. It's not necessarily, something that feels rewarding in this moment, but you can look back to this time in the future and really see like, wow, thank God I faced that then. Thank God I dealt with that then. Because there's not that much longer of this being so hard. I mean, we have July and August dealing with the retrograde Capricorn energy, but as we move into September and October 2020, they're going to turn direct, and this is going to be a very different situation. This is going to be not a very different situation, but a much more, solid situation, okay? A much more stable, dare I say, situation that we'll be working with at that time. And to have faced what is a problem now, okay, to have allowed yourself to grieve what you needed to grieve now, to have allowed yourself to participate in what you felt was right now, or to, see and identify what you felt was wrong. Any of these things where we're like attaching our consciousness to certain ideas, okay? Nodal shift in Gemini and Sag, big thing right now. Consciousness, attaching to ideas, creating action, creating change, creating all of these cycles that always happen during a Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto specifically, but also Jupiter. Don't force yourself to have perfection now. That would be a dangerous thing for anyone to undertake right now. I don't think that things can really be perfect in July or August, okay? I don't think that things are just going to like swirl together and create benevolent like heaven for anybody during that time. And it's for a reason. We're seeing that to be the case for a need, for a realization, because sometimes with too much comfort or too much ease, we can stagnate. So it's not really a stagnation time. It might feel that way, but it's actually not going to have been in the long run. So what I'm getting at here, to not beat around the bush, is just take July and August and everything that this new moon facilitates, and just let it be. Let yourself do it. Let yourself work with it. Let yourself make it just, one step at a time. Be responsible as you can, because Capricorn is all about responsibility, and it's about, doing the tried and true thing, or whatever that means to whoever, And, but again, if there's coping, grieving, to anything like that, let it be. Just let it happen, because you can really make a lot of headway and progress, and heal some of your own past trauma cycles. Okay, healing your relationship to your family as well. This is a very familial energy. Cancer Capricorn axis is the axis of family. Okay, so there are probably issues within the family that will come up for most of everybody. If you don't have a family issue over this time, wow, you're doing something karmically incredible, because most will. Okay, I do see. I've had a lot of people reaching out and saying, like, oh my gosh, how do I cope from this divorce? So divorce is happening a lot right now. It's just so reformative. It's so changing. And then there are some people also who are considering divorce who will heal it really well too, and it'll be fine. But then there are people who are trying to heal it really well, and it can only really end in divorce. So we have to watch out for getting too connected to a certain endpoint right now, because it's retrograde Capricorn energy that we're dealing with, offsetting this new moon in Cancer. The long-running plans that we make right now are not really meant to be forever. They're meant to show you something bigger than the plan, or something bigger, something more outside of, abstract planning. Okay. So yeah, and my whole point with this, stream of consciousness is about, like, loss. Okay. If you've experienced loss, if you've experienced a change, or what you feel to have been a trauma, it's not the worst time for it, actually. Okay. And what do I mean? It's never a good time to have difficulty or to have trauma. That's never good, never okay. It's a sign of a major, like, energetic deconstruction whenever we experience trauma. But it's really hard for many people to not experience some kind of trauma right now too, because the transits are very deconstructed right now as well, and moving into a point of a very sacred type of geometric connection. But sometimes when things get so connected, when we have this Cancer season along with all this Capricorn energy, in order for that to shift into place, sometimes it like breaks into place, it really can be like that. So the topic that I would like to conclude on today, at an emotional level, at an individual emotional level, is basically about new beginnings, because they are definitely here with this new moon in Cancer, and they're a very humble and cordial type of new beginning, I feel, for a lot of people, where there is an emotional acceptance, or there is a almost, there's a kind of a religious tinge to this as well, because of the Neptune-Mars conjunction that we just recently had in Pisces, and this new moon in Cancer sort of activating that by trine. There is, for some people, like, a shift in religion, and if it's not religion, it's like spirituality, or this is less so philosophy than what I was speaking of, but religion, spirituality, philosophy, all of these things are conceptually in a similar area. They're subtly different, but what I feel that this new moon gives us strongly is, for some of us, like, realizations of where we've not really acted in accordance to our own moral compass, or our own base of integrity, and it really allows us to set that in a new motion. That's how I would describe it. It's not exactly a reset, but for a lot of people, I see a lot of people really trying to basically clean up their act with this. I see a lot of people trying to establish a new moral compass, or a new set of integrity with this, and it can be difficult for some people too. But for some people who are really doing it in an individual way, and not, trying to control other people, or trying to force other people into, basically like Bible thumping, essentially. What we have is a really great ability to purify our own experience and our own way of walking through life, or our own way of just existing, becoming much more clean. Or becoming clean really isn't the right word. It's more of a like purified trust or something like that, where we are not terrified of what is in front of us, or where we are no longer operating all of our own efforts or our own, labors of love, or our own businesses or jobs or families out of a sense of fear, or out of a sense of not having enough, or not being able to pay a bill, or not being able to sleep, or any of these things. This consciousness level of acting out of fear, or acting because of a certain consequence. Okay, there's a really great opportunity to feel much more comfortable and hopeful, while not, living in the clouds, or not, being like an ostrich with the head in the sand either. There's a really good middle ground here of knowing that there is basically more to the human experience than what is kind of in front of us. So a great time for faith, and a great time for trust in something bigger than us, and in something that is not even in our control either. That's the hard thing about a Pluto-Saturn conjunct in Capricorn year, is it's that which is not controlled is scary to many, many people. So with this in mind, the clear evolution, or the clear overcoming of those control dynamics, is the purification of our own sense of trust. Okay, so that is going to be a doorway that many of us are working with at the outset of this time, the June 21st time period, and moving through July to a degree, because as we heal, as we become more faithful, or as we become more faithful to ourselves, really. And when I say faithful to the self, I mean faithful to our own patterns or our own cycles. It's not meaning that we need to be faithful to addiction, or we need to be faithful to the things that we know have gone wrong in our lives. It means that we're just aligning ourselves with what we know to be our own personal truths. And that is something that just does not lie, and it does not abandon, and it does not betray. So it's a great time, and almost what would I say, divine time, to operate based on abundance instead of lack. Okay, to operate through confidence without succumbing to the ego, to operate through reality in a way that is actually real. So really nice congruency that this time will create and start. It won't be until June 21st that most of us feel that there is order in our own experiences, or stability. It will probably take until then, and even for some of us, we might have to really work over the next few weeks to make that happen. But I think that right around, June 21st or the 22nd, we're all going to kind of see how this works, how everything has come together. It's like the few last puzzle pieces finally stamping into place, truly, because it's a very sacred geometry, the way that these angles are building up to become. So on that note, everyone, try to be as soft and gentle with yourself as possible. It can be quite harsh, it can be quite heavy, and we can be very tempted to use what we have, or eagerly sign up for being somebody else's pawn without realizing it. There are some pretty sketchy power games going on right now in places that we can't even really comprehend at this point. So that is something to bear in mind, whether it's in a friend group, or whether it's in, work, or in any aspect really of life. We have to really know what we're signing up for now, and what we're creating, because it is strong. And for some people, it's like a lifetime, lifetime aspirations, or lifetime work, or having brought something to life with your own hands and your own work now becomes your one new beginning, or your one outlet. So it is kind of a time of, I don't know, napping that off, I would say, to some degree, because it works and it will work, and most likely whatever you have right now, or whatever you derive abundance from, or whatever you enjoy in life right now, these things are probably going to occupy space for a long time. But it does feel like it's still pretty raw, or there's something that's still marinating about everything that we're doing right now. Long-term goals, relationships, decisions that we've needed to make. They feel like they are still waiting for something, or they are still just needing a bit of time to pass. As always is the case to some degree, as time never stops passing. So if we get really philosophical, since time doesn't stop passing, arguably there's nothing that is satisfied and nothing that is complete in any way as long as time passes, because time is a symptom of incompleteness, philosophically. But with this in mind, Saturn rules over time. The sign of Capricorn rules over time. Cancer also does, as it is on this axis. So we're going to really understand our time a little bit more. We're really going to understand what we're putting time to. A lot of us are really going to facilitate new routines, new time schedules, new task mastery, in a way that we can heal in our lives a lot more. So maybe by working from home now, as so many people are and will during the Cancer season, there's so many more opportunities to get healthier and to feel happier and to feel more free and less constrained and less confined, which is really interesting with this time, because Capricorn can be pretty confining. In the tarot, the Devil card rules over the sign of Capricorn, or the sign of Capricorn is represented by the Devil card, which is all about shackles. So, you got to be careful about how you're binding yourself up right now too. Would it be nice to maybe do a little bit less if you could? Would it be nice to free yourself up a little bit more without succumbing to like sloth or like something that's destructive? You're just eating ice cream all day, every day, laying on the couch. Definitely not during a Capricorn time. But also, I can't say that it's great to just be chained to your desk and doing many repetitive things that are not bringing much either. So middle ground, balance. I'm sure the Libras of the zodiac will understand best how to move forward with that type of balance. But it's just food for thought. And if you've enjoyed it, I hope that you will hit the like button below, and be sure to subscribe if you are new, or if you are interested in being notified when this content comes in the future. This new moon in Cancer, accompanied by a solar eclipse, will be a very potent shifting time for all of us to some degree. Even for those of us who are not having massive changes or can't really identify a massive like flux of any kind, there is a true overturn or cell turnover within this time. And it should really facilitate a space for all of us to do some amount of healing in a different way, or to finally understand the story that we've been involved with, or that we've been creating, or that we've been authoring, all of those things. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. I will see you guys next week, and check the description box below. I have links to other relevant videos. I have a bunch of links, so check below, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Much love. Bye.